Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're not just going to look at history through museum glass, we're going to live it. If you've ever stood in an aviation museum or watched classic wartime footage, you've certainly seen the P-51 Mustang. There is no denying it. This is the greatest symbol of the skies of World War II. Resting silently beneath the warm golden lights of a museum, it looks magnificent. Its polished aluminum skin reflects the world around it like a mirror. The colorful nose art suggests a distinct personality, even a touch of romantic flair. Those perfect aerodynamic curves earned it the nickname the Cadillac of the sky. People walk past, take photos, and marvel at its beauty. They see a champion. They see the glow of victory and the elegance of flight. But you are not here as a tourist. Today, we are going to strip away that glamorous shell and look at this machine through the eyes of the one who truly owned it, a pilot barely 20 years old tasked with flying it straight into the heart of chaotic aerial combat. For that young man standing on a freezing runway in 1944, this object was not a work of art. It was a tool, a heavy industrial tool, greasy, intimidating, and frightening. Designed for a single purpose to deliver violence to the enemy at 600 kilometers per hour. When you approach the Mustang with that mindset, the illusion of a luxurious Cadillac disappears instantly. You begin to see its true nature, a sleeping beast. A 4-ton predator made of cold metal rubber and high-octane fuel. It lies motionless, waiting for a master to wake it. Standing beside it, the sheer scale of the machine makes you feel small. Its long nose juts aggressively toward the sky. It completely blocks the horizon, foreshadowing the blindness you will face once strapped inside. The massive 4-bladed propeller spanning more than 3.5 meters resembles a gigantic cleaver, capable of slicing through a house if given the chance. A heavy, uncanny silence hangs over the aircraft before launch. It is the silence of enormous potential energy held in check. You walk around the wing, running your hand along the leading edge. A cold, ruthless sensation travels through your skin. Beneath that metal skin, there is no trace of luxury. There is no comfort and absolutely no safety net. 6 heavy machine guns are hidden inside these wings, and a massive V12 engine is crammed into the nose. It generates enough heat and noise to destroy the nerves of any human being. The public sees a hero's chariot, but you know the truth. This is an extremely hostile work environment for human life. It was built to kill the enemy, yes, but if you are careless for even a split second, it will just as gladly kill you. Before you touch the cockpit canopy, you need to understand the relationship you are about to enter. This is not a partnership between equals. You are a biological being of soft flesh and bone, preparing to climb into a mechanical body made of steel and fire. The moment your feet leave solid ground, and you step onto that wing, you leave the safe world behind. You are accepting a life and death contract with this machine. You will give it your hands, your eyes, and your absolute focus. And in return, if you are lucky, it will bring you home alive. So take a deep breath of fresh air while you still can. Look at the blue sky one last time with your naked eyes. The romance ends here. The raw reality of war is about to begin. Let's climb aboard and see whether we can tame this sleeping beast. Now, as you stand on the wing, your sense of the machine's scale shifts violently. From the ground, the Mustang looks grand and expansive, but up here it feels unsettlingly small. Staring into the dark opening below it no longer resembles a pilot's seat. It looks like a narrow industrial chute designed to swallow a human being whole. You swing one leg over the edge, then the other, and slide down into the dark metal cavity. The first thing you notice is not the view, but the immediate suffocating embrace of the aircraft. This is not like closing a car door. It feels like a coffin lid sealing shut. The walls of the fuselage press tightly against you. Your shoulders nearly scrape the canopy rails on both sides. People call this a cockpit, but the word pit may actually be too generous. It feels more like crawling into a high-tech iron chest. Let's talk about comfort, or rather the complete absence of it. You might expect a padded seat for a mission that could last 6 to 8 hours. But the Mustang is not generous. The seat is little more than a warped piece of stamped metal. It is hard, cold, and indifferent. The so-called cushion beneath you is not foam. It is your parachute pack, a solid brick of folded silk and cords. It feels like sitting on a sack of cement. Behind you, pressing directly into your lower spine, is a deflated rubber raft, a life raft that might save you if you ditch in freezing water. Right now, it serves only to torture your back. Your posture is forced and rigid. Your legs do not bend comfortably at the knees like in a car. They stretch straight forward, disappearing into the dark tunnel beneath the instrument panel, your feet searching for purchase on 2 large metal pedals. Once you are wedged in place, the assault on your senses begins. The smell inside a vintage fighter aircraft is something you will never forget. It is a pungent mixture that hits the back of your throat: high-octane aviation fuel, hydraulic fluid, old oil, and the stale, anxious sweat of the men who sat here before you. It is the smell of a machine that is alive and leaking. Every surface around you is metal. There is no plastic and no soft trim. To your left is a forest of levers and wheels. To your right are electrical switches and fuse boxes. The design philosophy is pure pragmatism. Everything must be within reach without shifting your body. Because once you are strapped in, you cannot move. You are chained to the airframe by a 4-point harness locking you against the armored plate behind the seat. Now you are physically integrated into the anatomy of the aircraft. You are the brain inside its skull, and the fit is terrifying. The canopy slides forward and locks with a heavy mechanical clack, isolating you from the outside world. The air inside instantly becomes still and stifling. On the ground, under the sun, the cockpit functions like a greenhouse. The temperature rises immediately, baking you inside your flight suit even before the engine starts. You look at the instrument panel, a wall of black gauges with radium-painted numbers that glow radioactive green in the dark. They stare back at you, waiting. That is when you realize you are not just flying this airplane. You are wearing it. It is a 4-ton metal suit, squeezing you from every side, waiting for you to breathe life into it. The cockpit is sealed. The air is thick, and now comes the moment of truth, waking the sleeping giant. You reach for the starter switch. You do not simply turn a key like in a modern car. You must coax this machine to life. You engage the inertia starter, listening to the piercing whine of the flywheel, spinning faster and faster. Kinetic energy builds like a tightly compressed spring. It sounds like an air raid siren fading away. When the pitch is right, you engage the clutch. The massive 4-bladed propeller, directly in front of you, lurches lazily, hacking into the thick air, one turn, then another. Then you switch on the magnetos and prime the fuel. The result is not a gentle hum, it is an explosion. 12 massive cylinders ignite in sequence, and the Packard-built Rolls-Royce Merlin engine roars into existence. A blast of acrid blue smoke erupts from the exhaust stacks along the sides of the nose, blinding you for an instant before the slipstream tears it away. The entire airframe shudders violently. This is not vibration you feel with your hands. It is an earthquake that makes your teeth chatter. It sends shock waves deep into your bones. Just inches from your toes, separated by nothing more than a thin heat shield, is a 27-liter heart beating with the power of 1,600 horses. The deafening noise crushes every thought in your mind. You are no longer sitting inside a quiet metal box. You are riding on the back of a fire-breathing dragon. You release the parking brake and prepare to move. Immediately, you discover the first deadly flaw of this beast. It blinds you. The Mustang's nose is absurdly long and points skyward when the aircraft is on the ground. Looking straight ahead, all you can see is the engine cowling looming before you. You are completely blind to anything directly in front of the aircraft. To taxi toward the runway, you must drive like a drunk, weaving back and forth in S turns, simply to check whether the path ahead is clear. It is an awkward, ungainly waddle for a killing machine. But it is unavoidable. You are entrusting your life to peripheral vision and instinct alone. At the end of the runway, you line up straight. This is the moment. The most dangerous phase of the flight is not aerial combat. It is the next 30 seconds. You hold the brakes and slowly push the throttle forward. The growl turns into a tearing scream. The airframe shakes so violently that the gauges blur. You release the brakes and the beast lunges forward. But when you shove the throttle fully forward to unleash maximum power, the laws of physics immediately try to kill you. The massive propeller spinning clockwise with brutal force generates an enormous torque effect. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. As the propeller spins one way, the entire aircraft wants to rotate the other way. The Mustang suddenly yanks hard to the left, trying to leap off the runway and flip its belly toward the sky. If you freeze and let it have its way, the left wingtip will plow into the asphalt, hurling the aircraft into a fireball before it ever leaves the ground. You have to fight it. You slam your right foot down on the rudder pedal using sheer physical strength to force the nose to stay straight. It is a brutal contest. You are forcing the rudder against the airflow, making the tail bite into the wind, silently screaming at the machine to obey. The engine roars, the ground blurs beneath the wings, and your leg muscles burn with the effort of keeping 4 tons of aluminum moving straight ahead. Then the tail lifts. The nose drops slightly, and suddenly the runway appears in front of you. You can see. The vibration frequency changes, becoming smoother as the wheels leave the ground. The sound of tires scraping disappears, replaced by pure aerodynamic howl. You have survived the takeoff. You have wrestled the beast into the sky. But do not relax yet. This is only the beginning. You climb higher. leaving the chaotic noise of the ground far below. The altimeter spins steadily, 10,000 feet, 15,000, then past 20,000 feet. You are entering the Mustang's true domain, but up here, the beast reveals a colder personality. Down below the cockpit was an oven. Up here, it becomes a freezer. At 25,000 feet, the outside air temperature plunges to minus 40 degrees Celsius. The thin aluminum skin offers almost no insulation. The bone-deep cold seeps through the metal, through the glass, and into your flight suit, hunting your body heat. The Mustang's heating system, generously speaking, is primitive. It is little more than an overrated hot air vent struggling against the overwhelming sub-zero atmosphere. Do you remember the sweat soaking your back during takeoff? Now it is freezing solid against your skin. Your fingers and toes begin to go numb, losing dexterity at the exact moment you need it most. But the cold does more than freeze your body. It tries to blind you again. Your warm breath hits the ice-cold canopy and instantly condenses into frost, coating your view in white. You are flying blind at 600 kilometers per hour. You scrape the ice away frantically with an ID card or a pocket knife, carving out a small hole just to see your wingman beside you. And then the problem becomes the air itself, or rather, the lack of it. At this altitude, the atmosphere is too thin to sustain human life. You are now completely dependent on the rubber oxygen mask strapped tightly to your face. It reeks of old rubber and talcum powder biting into your cheeks and leaving red welts that last for hours after landing. You must breathe, consciously forcing oxygen into your lungs. If that hose slips loose or the regulator fails, you will not gasp for air. You will simply drift into a pleasant euphoria known as hypoxia. You will feel happy, perhaps a little drunk, and then you will lose consciousness and die without ever realizing something is wrong. But perhaps the most humiliating aspect of this so-called symbiotic relationship is basic human biology. You are trapped in this seat for hours on end. Nature does not care about war. There is no toilet. There is only a relief tube, a small funnel attached to a rubber hose beneath the seat. Using it is a logistical nightmare. You must peel away layers of flight gear with numb fingers while still strapped into a violently shaking chair. And here is the brutal reality. The liquid flows down the tube and exits into the slipstream beneath the aircraft. At minus 40 degrees, it freezes instantly. If the tube clogs with ice, the liquid backs up and spills into the cockpit. Now, you are soaked, freezing, and sitting in your own urine as it rapidly turns into a block of yellow ice. It is disgusting and degrading, but it is reality. The machine demands everything from you, your warmth, your breath, and even your dignity. And then, the moment arrives. Your eyes, after scanning endless blue emptiness, suddenly lock onto a tiny imperfection far in the distance. A black speck. It should not be there. In an instant, the cold-induced lethargy vanishes. Your heart rate spikes, pumping adrenaline through frozen veins like liquid fire. The numbness in your fingers disappears. You are no longer a freezing man trapped in an aluminum box. You are a predator. Your relationship with the machine changes instantly. You stop fighting it. You stop fearing it. You become one with it. You jettison the external fuel tanks, and the Mustang lunges forward, suddenly light, shedding its burden. Preparing for slaughter, you push the throttle hard forward and advance the propeller pitch to maximum. The engine's roar changes tone, screaming with a new savage hunger. Now your focus narrows to a single device on the instrument panel, the K-14 gyroscopic gun sight. This is not merely a magnifier, it is an analog computer, a mechanical brain that thinks faster than you can. In the chaos of three-dimensional war, where enemies move at hundreds of kilometers per hour, aiming directly at them guarantees a miss. You must fire at where they are going to be, not where they are now. The K-14 performs this calculation for you, predicting the future through gyroscopes and reflective mirrors. It calculates lead bullet drop and speed, projecting a glowing circle of light onto the glass. All you have to do is frame the enemy's wingspan inside it. That blazing circle is the unblinking eye of the beast, locking tightly onto its prey. You bank hard in pursuit. G-forces slam into you like a physical blow. Gravity multiplies, and your body suddenly feels impossibly heavy. Blood drains from your head and rushes toward your legs. Your vision begins to tunnel, the edges turning gray, but you fight it by tensing your core muscles, forcing blood back up into your brain. You wrestle the control stick, tightening the Mustang's turn until the enemy aircraft sits perfectly centered in the sight. The distance closes. You are within firing range. Your thumb moves to the red button on top of the control stick. You squeeze the trigger. This is not a click. It is a seismic event. 650 caliber Browning machine guns, 3 in each wing, erupt simultaneously. The noise is no longer sound, it is physical torture. The entire airframe convulses violently, as if the aircraft is having a seizure. The recoil is so immense that you can actually feel the 4-ton airplane slow down in midair, as though it has slammed into an invisible wall of water. Hot shell casings pour from beneath the wings like golden rain. Smoke from burning propellant is sucked into the cockpit vents, filling your lungs with a sharp, acrid stench of sulfur. It smells like hell. Ahead of you, you see the result of your fury as tracer rounds, burning streaks of magnesium, reach forward like long fingers of fire. They tear into the enemy aircraft, ripping apart metal, glass, and flesh. Aluminum fragments burst outward, and black smoke billows into the sky. In this moment, the Mustang is no longer a vehicle. It is a horrifying extension of your will, a pure instrument of destruction that has turned your hands into the deadliest force in the sky. The dogfight is over, but the mission is not. Sometimes, on the way back to base with ammunition still left in the belts, the temptation to keep hunting is too strong to resist. You descend diving from the thin, cold safety above into the dusty reality close to the ground. This is strafing. You are deep inside enemy territory, falling out of the sky in absolute silence. This is the constant fear buried in the mind of every Mustang pilot, that the most advanced fighter in the world can be brought down by a single, small piece of lead, striking its most vulnerable point. The mission is complete, but the danger has not passed. In fact, you are entering the second critical phase of the flight, the return. You are exhausted. Your muscles are stiff after hours spent sitting on bare steel. Your mind is sluggish from mild oxygen deprivation and the sudden collapse of adrenaline. But the Mustang does not care about your fatigue. It is still a 4-ton beast that must be wrestled back to the ground. As you approach the airfield, fuel is running low and your patience is even lower. You line up with the runway and drop the landing gear with a reassuring mechanical clunk. The ground rushes up to meet you, and once again the long nose rises, blocking your view. You must feel the ground rather than see it. Landing is a delicate dance. You must stall the wings just inches above the grass. But the instant the wheels screech onto the runway, the old demon returns torque. As speed bleeds off and the tail settles, the rudder loses authority. If you brake too hard or let your attention slip for a fraction of a second, the heavy tail will try to swing forward and trade places with the nose. This is the dreaded ground loop. Many skilled pilots survive the Luftwaffe only to die here at home base, flipping their Mustangs into twisted wreckage simply because they relaxed too soon. You fight the pedals one last time, pumping the brakes and forcing the machine straight until it slows to a walking pace. You taxi into the parking area and pull the mixture control to cut off, starving its heart. The engine coughs, shudders, and then dies as the propeller slows blade by blade until it stops. The silence that follows is heavier than the noise that came before. It crashes into the cockpit like a wave, but you do not truly hear silence. Your ears are ringing violently, a piercing whine of tinnitus that will follow you for the rest of your life, a souvenir of sitting behind a V12 engine for 6 hours. You slide the canopy back and cool fresh air floods your face, washing away the smell of sweat oil and gunpowder. It smells of grass, it smells of peace. You unbuckle the harness that held you like a straitjacket. You disconnect the radio and oxygen hose, severing the umbilicals that bound you to the machine. Climbing out is anything but graceful. You swing a leg over the side and step onto the wing, and your knees buckle as they tremble uncontrollably. This is not fear. It is the physical release of tension your body has been holding since takeoff. You slide down to the ground and stand on solid earth once again. The sensation feels strange, stable, and unmoving. Ground crew rush toward the aircraft to inspect damage, searching for bullet holes and oil leaks. You walk away, remove your flight helmet, and wipe grease from your forehead. After a few steps, you stop and turn to look at it one last time. It sits there, ticking softly as hot metal cools in the evening air. Oil drips steadily, and the gun ports are blackened with soot. It looks filthy, worn, and dangerous. The romantic illusion from the museum is gone. You do not look at it with love. You look at it with deep, silent respect. It is a brutal machine that demanded everything you had, but it did the job. It kept its bargain. It brought you home. And the most terrifying truth is that tomorrow morning, you will wake up, walk back out here, and climb into that iron belly to do it all over again. Thank you for joining me on this flight. If you enjoyed this deep look into the raw reality of the P-51 Mustang and want to explore more legendary machines from the inside out, remember to subscribe and ring the notification bell. There are many more stories to tell and many more beasts to tame. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky.